So speed is defined as the rate of motion. So that is our distance traveled per unit of time. So one example that you might find in everyday life is like in your car, you can travel 60 miles per hour. So the distance is the miles and your unit of time is per hour. So if you know the distance and you know the amount of time, you can calculate the speed. So our speed, or they use v here because velocity is also a word that we can use for speed. Speed is equal to distance divided by the time. And this triangle over here um, that they show is a simplistic way of solving for these. So if they are right next to each other, you multiply, but if they are on top and bottom, you divide. So let's say we're trying to solve for v, we would cross it out and we would do d, distance, divided by the time. Or let's say we're trying to solve for time, we would cross that one out and we would do the distance divided by the velocity. If we're trying to solve for d, distance, we would cross that one out and we would do velocity times time because they're right next to each other. Now, speed is not the only measure to consider. For example, a storm is 10 kilometers away and is moving at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Should you be worried? Well, the speed, 60 kilometers per hour, sure, we might be worried, but we don't know what direction it's going. What if it's moving towards us? What if it's moving away from us? So velocity is going to be our way of knowing what direction it's going. Velocity is the same thing as speed, however, it adds in the direction. It is a vector, just like our displacement was. So the velocity can change even if the speed is constant based on what direction it's going. So if it's going to the left, it would have a negative number. If it's going to the right, a positive. So velocity and speed are very similar because they both measure how fast something is moving, but velocity is different because it includes that direction. So velocity is more like displacement because those both are going to be vectors. So let's do an example of how to calculate speed or velocity. So your neighbor skates at a speed of 4 meters per second. You can skate 100 meters in 20 seconds. So we need to figure out who skates faster. So they've already written out our givens here. So our first given was distance, and that was 100 meters. And our second given was time, and that's 20 seconds. So we need to figure out the velocity. So my formula is velocity is equal to distance divided by time. And I'm going to plug in my numbers. So velocity is equal to, because velocity is our unknown, and we're going to put the distance on top, 100 meters, and our time on bottom, which is 20 seconds. And I'm going to divide that 100 by 20, and I'm going to get 5 meters per second for that velocity, which means that we do skate faster because 5 is bigger than that 4 that our neighbor skates.